We are live.
Whoa! So this is actually happening.
This is actually happening.
Oh wait, whoa! Here we go.
Ching ching.
Oh, that's the sync.
That's the sync
yeah.
right there. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction because I guess we're supposed to do that. My name is Noah John. My co-host is Christopher Vu. I'm a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training for just under 2 years. Chris is a brown belt, getting very close to that black belt. How long have you been training?
I actually don't know. I know I started Jiu-Jitsu after I graduated college when I could afford it. So I graduated in 05.
Is that 14 years?
God, it's
14 years.
It's funny is I always say that I've been training for like a decade. I'm like, man, I'm closer to
a decade and a half.
Yeah, that's I really have like ventured into old man territory.
So you taught class today, and you had a story for me.
I did. So like I totally fucked things up. Oh, we got the explicit tag.
Yeah,
right. Like that costs more money, right?
No,
or something.
You just mark it as explicit. You go.
Okay,
we're F-bombs everywhere.
Okay, so I've already fucked it up. So like you and I were talking the other day, and I know you had mentioned that you had gotten the requirements for like purple belt, right? And we were just discussing rank and all that sort of things, and like what makes a belt, and we had some names thrown around or whatever, and I didn't. You had thrown a couple names out that I thought was common knowledge that they might be in line for purple as well. So what I did was I called everybody out because, and mind you, we're filming live from the gym here after class. We're knocking back a couple beers, and I called out Ed, who had just mentioned he had gotten some paper for the purple belt requirements. And so I was like, all right. It just in pure conversation, he said that, right? So I was like, you know what? I know you're not supposed to table. I just did. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have Ed teach technique.
Oh. Wow.
So I had Ed teach technique, right? And then I remember a couple other people you had said that may or may not be up for purple belt, and I was like, hey, you two got papers too, right? And I called out Andrew and Kirk Rossiter, and they acted like they didn't know what I was talking about. So I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, I don't know what just happened. Like, did I just do did I gym them?
I don't know.
Like, now they're like expecting things and they are not supposed to get it.
Well, again, we don't know the time frame.
We don't, right? So
I mean, I know stuff. I mean, like the requirements for purple belt were being passed around. I saw them.
Okay.
I know I'm not up for it. I've got a lot of time that I have to do.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm totally not.
Total misunderstanding. This is how rumors get started, right?
No.
So I just assumed everybody mentioned was up for purple belt in December. A belt? Jovan, do you want a beer?
You want a beer?
Yeah.
Well, you guys out here chilling? God damn.
All right, so we are actually
like a bunch of ballers.
We're doing an inaugural.
What are you doing?
I know you're hardcore, but use this. Oh no, I'm not that hardcore, man.
You know, we actually have that up there too.
Oh shit.
Jovan needs to be the inaugural bottle opener.
I was gonna say I've never had a beer this year, but that's not true. That's not true. Well, you guys are doing a podcast?
We're actually doing a podcast.
What are you doing?
Oh,
I'm offended, sir.
So how was class today?
It's great, man. It's great. I like Chris's class. He mixes it up.
Did you have him teach a technique?
No, because he wasn't a name that you had mentioned. So I went by primary sources, right? We're both academics here. Well, actually, all three of us are academics here.
Next time you should tell me. I'll do one of those standing curve techniques.
Oh, dude, that was sweet too. So generally the way I structure my classes when I teach, I taught 11 o'clock Jiu-Jitsu today, was I will have them do some sort of grip fighting to warm up. So basically like a partner drill to kind of warm up. Nothing super technique related, just to get our hips moving and that's functional for what we're doing, which is jiu-jitsu. And then I like to work some technique and then do some live drilling with some parameters set so that students just, because people won't drill what they're told to drill unless they're actually, or what they're supposed to drill unless they're told to do it, right? Because a lot of times what you do is you'll say, let's say you're working like a lasso guard, and you set the clock and you say, all right, certain lasso guard, people will just go, and they won't actually try to work the lasso guard. But since we are approaching promotions coming up within the next 2 months, we're trying to get people in shape.
Did you get like a purple belt requirement sheet?
I did not.
Okay.
He did not. Okay, so it's a good thing I didn't call on him, right? So, well, actually, I just don't know anymore. There's just so much fake news flying around here from Noah that I'm just making a jerk out of myself in front of people.
Is there a purple belt requirement sheet? Sorry to interrupt.
There is.
No,
there is.
Oh, okay.
there is.
And I have one, but I was just giving it to like proofread it. Like he's like, how does this look?
Oh God, is that really it?
Yeah.
It was just a proofread.
Yeah, I thought I told you.
Oh my God. I'm the perpetrator of fake news now.
So is that like backhanded motivation?
Well, no, I mean, basically, and I thought he had handed out to a few people, and we had talked about that, but I didn't know the time frame. Like, maybe it was sort of like, okay, I'm going to give you this so you guys have 6 months to work on it, not a month to work on it.
Right? Yeah, that's true. It's October now, and
Yeah.
promotions are coming up in December, so that's like less than 2 months to work on things. So either way, I called out 3 different people to teach techniques because
Well,
I
that's so
did.
good.
No, it's awesome, right? And I think what did I gather from that? Is I gathered that a lot of times people will train techniques and just completely forget about stuff. And also, I learned that people, when put on the spot, and I think I take it for granted now, not putting myself in beginner's mindset, that like I've taught 1 billion classes.
Okay, not 1 billion.
When I'm drinking alcohol here.
There you go.
I've taught many classes, right?
Exaggerating.
I love hyperbole, right? It's like everything's either the worst thing or the best thing. There is no in between for me.
So do you think, from your perspective, do you think a student up for any sort of belt promotion, whether it's let's exclude black belt.
Right.
For blue belt or purple belt or brown belt, do you think their ability to teach a technique is part of like doing it? Because it's like on the sheet it says, do show us 2 lasso guard sweeps. Can you just be a good roller and just do that stuff, or do you also actually have to explain it and transmit that information to another person for you to actually be considered knowledgeable in that and be able to get the belt knowing that? You know what I'm saying?
That's I don't know, man, because I think jiu-jitsu is such a dynamic thing that people get what they want out of it. So like if you approach it from like a Gracie Baja standpoint, right? Like where they really try to like pound this idea of like this is academics and you call each other fucking professor and all this like
Professor.
Yeah, this like pretentious nonsense. Which I mean there's something to that, right? Like you do put in your time, and I think as with anything in life, you get better at it if you learn to teach it also.
Yeah.
It also, in my case, it also means you can't perform it live, right? So, which is why I just become really good at teaching it. So I don't think it's necessary, but I think it helps. It can't make you worse at the technique.
I mean, I think actually, I mean, I don't have much experience teaching jiu-jitsu, but I teach other things.
Yeah.
And I find teaching is one of the things that really motivates you to learn something properly. Because in order to teach it, you really have to understand it. Like there's techniques I can do in jiu-jitsu, but I have difficulty teaching because for me it's almost a memory and I don't really understand it. And the downside of that is that when there is nuances or when something changes slightly, then you don't know how to adjust as well as if you understood it in the detail that it takes to teach it.
So getting the why behind the what and the how.
Exactly. Teaching requires a deeper understanding than doing, I think.
Well, and so there are 2 things I think of. One is when so one of my undergraduate degrees in mathematics, and one of my professors said, when you're a freshman in mathematics, you take Calc 1 and Calc 2, calculus class, okay? And what he said is when you go to grad school and you have to teach calculus, that's when you learn calculus.
Yes.
So it's like
that's true.
You learn
Right?
calculus as a
Absolutely
student,
right.
you do the exams and stuff, fine, you get whatever grade you get. But then when you actually teach it as a teaching assistant, that's when you actually learn calculus.
So,
for real.
but when you're a teaching assistant, let's relate this to jiu-jitsu. Is that a TA? Is that brown belt? Is that purple belt? Is that black belt? Where is a TA?
It depends on what kind of TA you are. Because imagine your first year, being a TA for calculus.
Let's say at least a
different from
purple
your
belt. I would say
second
at
year.
least
Like a high level purple,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because it's different. Yeah, so it's just like in jiu-jitsu. You're a purple belt first when you start to teach, and then by the time you get to brown belt, you get better and better at teaching, and by black belt, you should be a master teacher, right? Because that's what black belt involves. Like it denotes a certain ability to teach as well, right?
Does it? Rely on your because there are black belts, without naming names and whatever it is, but just in general, there are black belts who are amazing on the mat, but they couldn't teach you how to do a scissor sweep.
Really?
Right? Like, so I think that's the dynamic of jiu-jitsu too, is like, we've listened to other podcasts and they talk about like, there's like the recreational route and there's like the competitive route, right? But like, is jiu-jitsu, is it like the idea that you can't fake being good at jiu-jitsu, but you kind of can, right?
How? You cannot. How? Like, for example,
I've faked it for 15 years, Jovan.
If you can,
I'm a brown belt, and I can't. I get tapped out by white belts.
I would contend. So it's like, you guys watch Naruto?
I would contend with that.
You guys watch Naruto?
Naruto.
They have different ninja arts, and you can be exceptionally good at one and be terrible in the others.
Okay.
And still be very effective.
This is awesome, by the way. I didn't know that.
It's like that. I feel like teaching is one of those components of jiu-jitsu. You can be an excellent teacher and be terrible at everything else. Just think of like somebody who's 75. If you're 75, right, you may have been great in your 20s, 30s, and 40s as a competitor, but you're 75, your body's not moving the same way, but you're still an excellent teacher.
Yeah, but Helio Gracie had grips.
Yeah,
but he...
everybody gets arthritis. It's not,
This is coming from a doctor, too, so yes, I will take his word. But so you're saying jiu-jitsu is not just rolling?
No, it's not. It's definitely not just rolling. Because if you think about it, you have white belts who are wrestlers who can come and you can probably pin a brown belt in top control just with wrestling.
Yes.
If you're that good at wrestling, that can happen.
Or you can flying armbar a brown belt,
exactly.
or a high purple belt, actually, as a white belt, actually.
Exactly. So to me, it's like
Jordan Spieler.
It's like which area of the craft do you want to develop? Or you want to be a teacher? You want to be like a competitor? You want to just be good at technique? Or you want to kind of pick, different levels of expertise in all of it,
So then how do you, like...
So how,
like,
what's
the
objective measure?
You said, because you just said, it's like, jiu-jitsu is something you can get whatever you want of it. So really, you can measure it, so to any extent...
Does that water things down, Jovan?
No, I don't think so, because with anything, right, you can say, you can be great at jiu-jitsu, you can be a teacher. And how do you prove that you're a great teacher? Your students are excellent. How do you prove that you're a great competitor? You win trophies, right? If your students are excellent, but you're not winning trophies, are you still a good teacher? Of course, right?
Okay. So
does that mean you're good at jiu-jitsu?
Yes, absolutely.
But then the question that comes back to, and Chris and I have talked about this many times, which is one of the reasons we wanted to do this.
Well, we're even doing
is if you're an instructor, put yourself in Paul's shoes, and Paul's the black belt, the owner of the gym, the guy who's been teaching us.
He's the Jedi master.
Yeah, the Jedi master. If you're in his shoes, how do you reconcile those different pathways?
Well,
when it comes to, I'm going to award this person this belt.
Then, so for that reason, I would say I want to award this person this belt because this are his strengths. I want to give Chris a black belt because Chris is a great teacher, and if I can't make it into class one day, I know the
Don't
students
brown
are
nose.
going to...
Yeah, I was like, hey, I've got no bearing on testing.
I'm using Chris as an example. I want to give Chris this belt because of that reason. Mm-hmm. Or I want to give Noah his purple belt because I know that no matter who comes on the mat, Noah's going to give him a rough time and he understands the techniques well. I'm going to give Jovan a purple belt because Jovan fucking crushes people.
Yeah, he crushes. Jovan's the crusher of souls. I don't know if anybody's read comics, but there's this. So, like, there's the Breaker of Worlds, which took place during the some storyline, and like the Juggernaut got the special hammer, and he became literally the Breaker of Souls, I think it was.
So the two people that are listening to this podcast, just half of them just left.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, Jovan is the Breaker of Souls. But so you're saying it's incredibly subjective.
Well, by the very nature it is subjective, but there is an objective measure as well. For example, like I said, if you are a good teacher, your students will be good. So for example, if you use the same metrics to assess everybody, good teachers have good students, and good competitors win trophies. If you're a good teacher, you will have a class with good teachers and good competitors. So you will have people winning trophies and you have people teaching. You see what I'm saying? Just using those two as an example. So whatever metrics you use, as long as you're consistent with them and that they are value and that they measure something of value, then you can use that to assess how good you are.
But ultimately, though, what would Helio say, and what would Carlos say?
Well, that's like,
to your idea? Because what's jiu-jitsu? But what's jiu-jitsu, right? Because jiu-jitsu, and you mentioned this the other day, Noah. Has jiu-jitsu always existed, right? Is a triangle in the universe regardless, right? Because the triangle by definition is three sides. What is jiu-jitsu? Has it always been there? Did it take people like archaeologists digging it up? Did jiu-jitsu exist before jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I can't answer that, but I like his kind of, I like Javon's characterization of it, where he's saying, I think it's cool, and it focuses on the art side of things, because it's saying the instructor, the professor's job is to identify, what archetype is the student.
Ooh.
Right?
And speaking of alienating people, RPG guy, what archetype?
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. It's like,
I'm a ranger.
Yeah, no, but that's my thing. It's like, it's almost as if, because to me, this whole thing breaks down when you identify a person. The minute you identify a person in the gym, so let's take Joe Blow, blue belt, who's up for his purple belt. The minute I attach him to things and make him part of the criteria, now I think everything falls apart, because now I can start making arguments like, well, wait a minute, I know so-and-so beats him in the rolls, but he's only he's up for his blue belt, this guy's up for his purple belt, but this white belt's kicking his ass. It's like, you can always, it's like the MMA math. You can do MMA math the minute you identify a person.
Yeah, true.
So I think what I like about what Javon's saying is, it's this sort of thing of, each person is going to fulfill what their characteristics are. Kind of like how you say, Chris, it's like your personality comes out in your jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
It's sort of like whatever that person's going to be and however they're going to grow, you have to kind of identify what they're doing and then find the criteria for that, instead of just saying, here's a general criteria everyone has to adhere to.
Agreed, but so here's the thing though, right? What is jiu-jitsu? What is Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Or is it American jiu-jitsu?
What is just jiu-jitsu, right?
Or is it judo on the ground? I mean, to a certain extent.
But it's a martial art, right?
It is. I mean, but so
a martial art is meant to do what?
It's meant to fight.
It's meant to fight, but what if you're a shitty fighter? Are we watering down the art by giving these subjective measurements?
I still think the people that we would consider weak at grappling, that are at least purple belts, would still handle themselves totally fine in the street.
Do you really think that?
Yes.
Do you 100% think that?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome, Victor. You are not 21. You do not get brews.
But you're not 21.
I'm not 21 yet.
What? He looks like he's 14.
Wow, that hurts. That hurts.
But,
No, I'm not giving you this.
No, he did.
This is recorded. This is going to be on the internet.
Exactly.
Thanks for the beer. I gotta run. Let me know when
Cheers.
the podcast comes up, man.
Every Saturday.
Every Saturday. All right.
Every Saturday.
Hey, man, Javon.
Thank you, Jovan.
It's going to be really hard today.
Thank you, Breaker of Souls.
No problem, man. Somebody has my belt. I can't find it. So
Oh yeah, dude,
That's why I came over.
Yeah.
He drank a beer and then he left.
So that's the thing, though, right? What separates jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu? Because I will differentiate between Brazilian jiu-jitsu to other jiu-jitsu arts. I know Robert Drysdale talks about the culture end of it and stuff. But what ultimately separated it, and it's judo on the ground, right? Is that the fact is you can't fake it any more than you can fake speaking Spanish. You either can or you can't, right? You either do jiu-jitsu or you don't do jiu-jitsu.
But can't you say that about anything, really? Give me an example of
Like
something
what?
that you can't do that. Because I think that's really...
Because I think a lot of times if you look at traditional martial arts, right? You see things like traditional karate and people do forms and that sort of thing, and just because forms are these theoretical shadow boxing, right? Which is just all I've come from traditional martial arts background, so I can do this because I've experienced both sides. You can fake being good at it without actually fighting. by saying, "Oh, I'm good at this kata, or I'm good at this like 1 or 2 step sparring, or I'm good at these sort of like prearranged."
How is that any different from someone coming on the mat, on a jiu-jitsu mat, and saying, "Here's how you do this technique," but never rolls?
Yeah, so that's just it, though, right? Like
Paul has a personal pet peeve about he talks about his Muay Thai instructor Bobby, and you know Bobby. Too.
I know Bobby.
You know
Yes,
Bobby.
yes.
So Bobby is what, in his 70s now?
Yes.
Okay, so he's in his 70s, and this guy comes out and still does the techniques, and I think has like hip replacements or something, and still can inflict damage just because he actually does the techniques. He's not trying to walk someone through it. He's not trying to talk his way through a technique.
Okay.
Paul's a big believer in the instructor should be able to demonstrate the technique and should demonstrate it to the fullest of its abilities. So,
to the fullest of his abilities, or to the technique's abilities? I
think it's kind of a both. It's like if another instructor saw him do it, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's doing the technique right."
Okay, fair enough.
So it's like,
but he's also a 70-year-old man, right? So that's going back to what Jovan said. It doesn't make him, because he. Do we have to like put it into this ideal of, I know at the heart of it, you can do it in your physical prime?
Like 45.
Does that legitimize it, or is it like me? I'm 37. I know I can't do things I could even 5-6 years ago. All right, yeah, I couldn't. I can't do things that I could 5-6 years ago, right? Like my cardio was better when I had more time to do things, and this and that. Like, just because I can't do it now doesn't make me less legitimate of an instructor or a jiu-jitsu practitioner.
no.
Does it not? I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So, like, but, like, if I go and I take the time against a moderately resisting opponent...
Are you healing up?
What's up, Mr. Carl?
Carl, what you got? You want...
Carl, join the podcast.
Carl, you want a...
I may... Oh, man, let me think about
Get you a natural light seltzer? Come on, man.
That's kind of like a girly thing, though.
First off,
and
no.
and it's from Nadia.
Natural light.
Natural.
I don't...
Get your hit of that. Listen,
All right, look, just...
this is for Paul. This is reserved for Paul.
Okay.
If any girls come in, this is not mine.
Okay.
Oh, no, let me rephrase that. If any hot girls, bangable girls.
Wow, Carl.
Yeah.
You just totally Me Too'd everybody here.
What? What do you mean?
We shouldn't base the value of women upon their looks. Thank you.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with I'm bringing this.
Well, it is very pink.
I mean,
No
it's...
pictures. Can you just give me a beer, please?
No.
Whoa, Victor. Absolutely not.
So, Carl is our resident
Carl's our resident
arms
prepper.
Yeah, and he's our resident weapons expert.
He's our 007. Carl, so I think you have a very unique take on martial arts. Right, because you do martial arts.
We literally are recording a podcast.
Oh, you're recording?
Yes,
We
yeah,
literally
absolutely.
are
Yeah,
recording.
pull up.
This is not a joke. We're literally recording a podcast.
So you have a super unique take on martial arts, right? Like, because I feel as though everybody seeks different paths in martial arts to achieve different ends. I feel as though you are probably the most practical of us all because you are literally learning how to defend yourself. Right? Like, is that why you train?
Yeah, that's pretty much the primary reason why I train.
What was
That and the stage.
Okay, so what got you to first train jiu-jitsu? Because I would imagine, I think you were training other stuff, like other self-defense stuff.
We trained just about everything in New York. It wasn't every day. So, for example, we did jiu-jitsu, I think it was Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays.
You were a JKD guy, right?
Yeah, and then what we did was we rotated off of JKD, Muay Thai, Silat, and Kali, basically about every 3 to 6 months.
What's Kali?
Kali's
It's not the brown belt.
Not big Kali. No, Kali is the Filipino martial arts. So you're dealing with sticks, blades, things like that. They also use a whole bunch of other weapons, whether it be sword, whether it be spear, double dagger, things like that. But,
double dagger?
Yeah, you could do double dagger.
Jesus Christ, man.
One of the nice things with Kali, though, is your empty hand techniques will be very similar, if not the same, to your weaponized techniques. So if you're practicing a punch or a neck strike, for example, could be done the same with an actual blade in your hand.
Okay.
So what's your motivation here? Like what got you doing jiu-jitsu in particular?
Again, we trained a little bit of everything. So you have varying distances, whether it be, you're at weapons distance, you're at close distance, you're at Muay Thai distance, you're on the ground. So Jiu-Jitsu factors into that as well. You end up on the ground, you need to be able to fight your way back up.
When you first started training there, did they already incorporate Jiu-Jitsu into the curriculum?
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu was already in the curriculum.
Okay.
Jiu-Jitsu had been there for at least about 3 years, I think.
What up, boys?
Okay,
We got more guests.
What's going on?
What is that?
Hey yo,
We are recording a podcast. The
It's-
inaugural podcast.
BJJ and Brews, man.
Oh shit! Do you guys have the other beer?
Yeah, it's in the fridge. Go grab it.
So we got to reload.
Hey, there's another 4-pack in there. Grab that one as well, Dennis. There's yours and mine.
So at the time, just so I'm clear with it.
Why were you training? There,
No,
go ahead.
well, let me start. I just want to know what was when you first started. What percentage of you said, like, give me like a percentage breakdown. How much of your training time was jiu-jitsu? How much of your training time was weapons training? Were you doing any firearms training at this academy, or was that separate?
That was later on.
That was later on.
No, we probably did about thirds. I would probably say when I first started, it was probably about a third of jiu-jitsu, a third of Muay Thai, and a third of either whether it be Kali or Sila.
Okay, and was this also the same academy where they actually had like a staircase where you guys just fight on the staircase?
Come on, man.
I know you.
Is this for real?
I don't remember that.
No, you told me there's.
Oh, Noah, fake news, ladies and
No,
gentlemen. Captain of fake news right here.
Staircase.
No, didn't they have like a? Didn't you tell me they were doing tactical training in like a staircase? Like they had like a where? Maybe it wasn't there. It was somewhere else. But there was a warehouse.
Got some stuff.
Oh, one of the shooting groups.
Okay, so this is
trained with.
different.
Okay, so this
No,
is
we-
this is
different.
We just went ghost hunting inside of an abandoned prison. That was all.
Okay.
Wait, like legitimate ghost, like
Yeah,
like the show Ghost
Well, not
Hunters?
the show ghost hunting, but there was an abandoned prison
Grab
where
whatever
we
you
were
got.
training, so we went into the night.
Ooh, this is the good one.
I actually did that one time. I did it at the Rouse Road Cemetery on the coldest night, the first night of the fall. I went ghost hunting, and
Cheers.
oh,
Salud.
cheers! All right, whoa, we got so many guests now.
Salud. Okay, so just to finish your story there, Carl, what made you stick with jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, because you do both. You do more Muay Thai than me at this point.
Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, you have all of your grappling, you have all of your striking. Probably the two most fundamental arts you can have.
Okay.
I mean, you can get in close, but if you can't double the guy, knee the guy, you want to be able to do all of each of those.
It's our resident Jocko.
Yeah, so you're doing it to stay in shape. You're doing it for self-preservation.
And for fun, obviously.
I mean, like we're doing
love
this right
training
now,
together.
right? Like the camaraderie end of
Yeah,
it is always a big part of it.
Yeah,
But so like, all seriousness, we're trying to figure out like what is the objective measure of a belt.
Given that promotions are coming up,
I'm throwing it out there,
and
right?
he asks people to do techniques, and they
Which-
start thinking, like,
which-
wait, we're up for promotion, and then you realize maybe they're not for promotion.
So like,
And everyone thinks they're up for promotion when they're not. But we get
It's like I just need to start calling up everybody at this point whenever I teach class because let's be frank about it. I missed the technique this week, so I don't know what to teach, and I didn't want to keep on doing lasso guards, so I was just calling up random
We're
people.
doing omoplata, finishing the omoplata.
Ah, damn! I could have done that
There you
actually.
go.
Do you guys think that the lower in the belts, the more,
Speak closer.
the lower in the belts, the more technique that is required in the higher in belts? Are you ranking them based on performance versus each other?
That's just it.
Okay, so we just talked to Javon, and he gave his own take on what's your take? Like,
Dennis, what is your take on belts and jiu-jitsu paths?
I think that in lower belts, I think that everybody has to start with the fundamentals. So technique and drilling and stuff like that is more important to me. But as you start to rank up, everybody will develop their own path in jiu-jitsu, and nobody has the same style. So I think maybe based on technique in the beginning, but later on you have to start including how you perform versus your opponents.
Ooh.
Thoughts?
So
Go
ahead.
Let me throw my first thing. So I actually have only rolled with you once, I think. Okay, but just rolling with you, I know that you can roll with someone that's probably a purple belt here and give them a really hard time. what goes through your mind when you with a situation like that? How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile that? Is it like, oh, well, that person has just more time, they're more knowledgeable, or
This is so good.
Indeed, sir.
That's such a good question. That's
So-
a hard one.
That's okay. So like, let's go with, for example, I'm a brown belt, so I'll just use brown belt as an example, right? There are certain people, and maybe I sound so pessimistic saying this, right? Don't you dare, you put that down right now.
there's no
There are
video
people
camera?
who I will never beat. I'll just throw it out there right now. Like, I'm never beating Ryan Wilkerson for the life of me. The dude trains once a week, but he's crazy explosive. He's got a killer instinct. He's strong as fuck, and he's really good at what he does. Does that make me less of a brown belt than him?
That's such a good question.
Right? Like, I would argue yes. So, which means, like, that's why I stand by the fact that, like, I should be, like, a high-level purple belt.
That's why I like Javon's interpretation
What
of
did he
it.
say?
Well, Javon basically said that it's less to do with like how you. I mean, each person is going to have their strengths. So one person could be, and I'm going to oversimplify things. One person could be on the competitive track where they are good competitors and they roll really well. That would be a Zach, right? Then you could have the teacher track where it's like this person's very knowledgeable. They're not going to.
Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah, there you go, Tommy.
Chris.
Yes.
And I say that with all respect to those two guys, because I'm not saying they can't roll well either. But the point is, it's like you don't have to be. There are many ways, in Javon's opinion, and I wish he was still here to say this, but there are many different ways you can be a black belt, or you can be a good purple belt, or you can be a good blue belt. You don't have to just be a mat monster.
Agreed, but what is jiu-jitsu about at the end of the day?
Well, I think
Right? Like, the purity of jiu-jitsu is you need to beat people up.
Yeah.
Right?
If I can throw in my 2 cents.
No, yeah, come on in, man.
At the
Get
same
in here.
time, though, I mean, you take
Are you
the guy-
21, by the way?
I'm older than him.
Okay, all right. All right, that's
Out
fine.
there, disclaimer.
I'm like, you're drinking a beer, and that's a tall boy, so we
At
need
the
to
same time,
clarify.
we have these guys who are like UFC fighters or who are, you know, very, very, very good grapplers who can beat most guys, and you have their coaches who train them. But there's a good chance those guys, if you put them against their coaches, they could beat them.
No, they probably will beat them, right?
Exactly.
Like
So
Winkle
does that
John,
make
like
their coaches,
yeah,
you know, 3rd and 4th degree black belts any less of a black belt than these guys who may be a brown belt or just got their black belt.
Is that okay? So like, and
You know what I mean?
I only speak of this because I'm getting up there in ranks now, right? And I question this every single
How many
day.
stripes do you have right now?
I'm literally a 4-stripe purple belt. Jesus, brown belt, right?
Okay.
I question this every day. I live with imposter syndrome. It's a fact of my life. It's what is the bullshit thing? That's like those who cannot teach, right? Like
No,
that.
those who cannot do teach.
Those who cannot do teach, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's literally in the back of my head. And it's
But
it's
is there
always
anything wrong with
there.
that?
Is there? I don't know.
I
Because,
mean, I know that saying has
because
that negative
jiu-jitsu
implication.
at the end of the day is jiu-jitsu at the end of the day is about fighting.
Yeah.
It's about fighting. It's about what is a martial art, right? Like a martial art is.
But you don't think you could defend yourself in the street?
I don't know, and that's actually what I was going to ask you.
Come on,
I don't know.
You would wreck a guy.
I don't know, right? Because like, okay, so like, let's get super political real quick. My father-in-law, super right-wing dude, just got his concealed carry license, and doesn't train to like use it or anything, right? And like all of a sudden feels like empowered because he has like this gun, right? I'm like, man, like.
What kind of gun did he buy?
Yeah,
Carl's asking like,
If he didn't buy the right gun,
it's
it
like,
might not go
does he
big.
have the right sidearm and knife to go along with it?
So what
did he buy?
what sidearm did he buy, Chris?
I don't know.
Oh.
Either way, he's got a gun, and I know the guy can't pick up like a 5-pound weight above his shoulders, right? So like, this is like somebody who is untrained wielding a weapon. Do I think that he's better off defending himself in the street? Absolutely not. Furthermore, I've been training at this point I've trained since I was 11 years old doing taekwondo and jiu-jitsu and whatever afterwards. I don't trust myself to defend myself in the street.
Really?
Absolutely not.
But
Have you seen the general population? Like, so to
Have you
speak?
seen World
Have you gone to the
Star
Walmart? Have you gone to the Walmart recently?
Okay, for example, you say you can't train, and this is something I always think about. I don't have like I'm not a physical specimen. Like you're a much bigger dude than me. Okay.
First off, thank you.
Okay.
And second off, I'm not a physical
How
specimen.
many dudes come in here from the street who you look at me like, that's a pretty big guy, and you roll with them, and you can turn them into a pretzel? How many of those people do you think?
But
are
that's
out there?
under this certain rule set of they can't strike me,
Yeah. That's true.
and
The adrenaline
there's a
is
certain
not there.
and quite frankly, like I'm probably in better shape than 85% of the
Right.
American population,
Right.
right? Like, so like on conditioning alone, agreed.
You can probably go longer.
But like also, I'm just relating this to jiu-jitsu purely, right? Like the two hardest people I have dealing with on the mat are people who are fucking crazy spazzes and just relentless pressure, like a Jovan, for example, who's he
not a
breaks.
spaz, though.
No, he's not a spaz. He's a
I
technical.
want to just say that he's not a spaz.
No, he's definitely not a
Very-
spaz. He's a technical breaker of souls,
That is true.
right?
That is the people who I seem to struggle the most with are people who are like they're very spastic. They explode rope.
But
I do better against somebody who's more controlled. Like
Well, that's what I mean. Even
but
Paul
then there's
says
the
that,
people
like,
who are super controlled. It's like both ends of the spectrum. People like who don't open up and are just literally inch their way along like a.
I mean, what Paul says is, in many ways, it's easier to go with a blue belt than
a white belt.
Than a physical
Absolutely.
white belt, because a blue belt is doing movements that are predictable. That blue belt doing jiu-jitsu. A new white belt that's athletic and spazzy.
it's weird, right?
They're going to do things that you don't expect. They're going to.
So is
They're going
that?
to try and roll you in situations, but the problem is you're not prepared. Because
So are we losing side of jiu-jitsu because of?
Well, this is that whole sport.
Nice meeting you,
Good
man.
night,
See
man.
you next time.
Hey, say goodbye. What are you doing? You don't leave.
Gotta say it. Goodbye.
Until next week, my audience.
There we go.
There we go.
There
The
you
proper
go.
sign off from guy who I have no idea he is.
No, I mean that's that whole sport versus combative kind of thing, you know, it's like, which is a whole different can of worms. But the original question was, can Christopher Vu defend himself in the street? Absolutely.
I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you, dude, go with a new person. It's scary. You can move their hands around.
No, agreed. Like,
Joe Rogan
yes,
said
yes.
something. It was pretty crazy. He said he also. It's not that he doesn't trust himself, but he goes, I don't know what can happen if we're just straight standing up. Because somebody can land a lucky punch.
No, absolutely.
A lucky punch can come from anywhere, especially where you said they're unorthodox. You know, train with somebody, you know where they're going to come from. But this dude can throw a looping or craziness. But he goes, if I get my hands on you and I take you down, that's it.
Agreed. And so like I because I don't get in the street fight. I'm just not an asshole,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Well, that's what we learn in jiu-jitsu too, is to avoid the fight.
right? Ooh,
avoid
so
the-
meta of
There
you.
we go.
Ooh.
You
The
know,
ultimate in nuclear
good,
weapons.
Nothing good comes from a fight, you know.
But so like that was something when I was a white belt. There was a purple belt, Matt Graham, purple belt. I think he got his black belt. Matt
to
Graham
Matt
said,
Graham.
"Shout out to Matt Graham if you're listening from Gracie Baja days." Paul probably remembers you. He said he was mighty. He had like the ultimate in like Napoleon syndrome. He was literally like 5'3", but just like a little block of a dude. He was like a 2-stripe purple belt. And he was like, Chris, like I just started bouncing because you come bounce with me. I'm like, bro, I've been training. I'm like, Chris, yeah, like not like dancing. Is that the
Literally,
term?
Like work at the club.
Like
and
working
be
at a club. He's like, Chris, you make a couple extra bucks, blah blah blah, bounce with me, right? And I'm so drunk right now. I'm super drunk.
Oh my god.
But
We're not
Matt,
going to talk about our tolerance. We don't have super tolerance.
I have the Asian
This
flush.
is white belt tolerance right here.
Oh yeah, white belt alcohol. It's 6% alcohol beers. What do you expect? They're not letting me drive home, by the way. So Matt was like, Chris, come bounce with me, make a couple extra bucks. It'll be awesome. I'm like, Matt, I've been training for 8 months. I'm a white belt. And Matt was like, Chris, like, you would be amazed. It's fucking stupid how little people know. He's like, I literally, man, like, some dude was giving me shit at I think it was Ember or Taboo or something at the time. He's like, he was giving me shit, blah, blah, blah. I fucking, like, duck under, took his back, choked him out. It's fucking ridiculous. This is awesome. And I was like, Matt, I'm not doing that. Is that the case with everybody on the street?
Yes.
I think a good majority.
I mean, I think more people are more people, because UFC is more popular now, that it's not like jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts is not as like rare of an ability to have. So people like see the UFC, so they might have some weird concept. But at the end of the day, it's like I say, look at the people that come in here and think about how it feels to roll with them.
Yeah, it's
Day
stupid.
one white belt. When
But
Paul says like you can rip off their arm and hit them with it, it's true. Like you can
No matter
Kimura
how
the
strong
fuck
they are.
out of them. You know
no
what
matter
I mean?
how strong they are. And another thing I always think about is, well, at least when I think about it too, and I have to stop myself, is somebody's trying to hurt me and they got all this adrenaline pumping. If somebody hits you, aren't you gonna get mad too? Now you're gonna put all that adrenaline, that strength.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, there's gonna be a point where you're gonna have to face each other, and you're gonna be like, okay, either you know what you're doing or you don't know what you're doing. And I don't care how good somebody is. If you have a one-stripe white belt in here, I don't think they'll be able to put you in a position where you're like, I don't know what this guy's doing to me.
Okay.
It's not even that. It's not even a.
So
it's
I
not even
know
a
what they
one-stripe
don't
white
know,
belt.
or yeah, whatever.
It's just someone. The thing about it is your intuition, and the thing is, I think it's funny because I've been training for less than 2 years, but I already have a hard time remembering what my thought process was
Right.
as a white belt.
Yep.
It's like what's interesting about jiu-jitsu is that your natural instincts as a human without combat training, without grappling experience, will lead you astray in a fight. Like what we had
Will
to
it
do,
really?
Oh, absolutely. Like what we've learned, what you learn as a white belt contradicts what we commonly do. If we're under pressure, we turtle up and we turn away. It's true. Like people will give up their back.
But don't you think that programming was created? Okay, so because at that point it's like jiu-jitsu versus whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about like jiu-jitsu versus like other martial arts, and then jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu. Is there another level of jiu-jitsu versus just pure instinct? And that like because pure instinct allowed us to survive and procreate to get to where we are now.
I think pure instinct will cancel each other. But if you put pure instinct to somebody who knows what they're doing, it's just exactly what he's saying. They'll do stuff that.
But that's
like,
not wrong.
That's
It's wrong against jiu-jitsu,
true. Yeah.
right?
Oh, I'm not. It's nothing about right or wrong. This is about whether you can defend yourself against a Joe Blow in the street. You keep saying like, I don't know, and I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm like,
I don't know,
Wreck
Joe.
them. That's the thing. You would wreck them.
No,
You would absolutely wreck them.
until I go in the street and pick some fight with some random dude, I won't know.
Wow.
Because I don't know. Because I do my proper cross blocks. Because I do my shelling up. Because I do my like Bayana takedowns, which I don't do takedowns, but I'll probably full guard on somebody.
I think it's a convincing enough argument to say a brand new person, someone that's a trial that comes in, I don't care how big or athletic they are, if you go with them, you're gonna play with them like a tiger would play with a rat. Like you would just toy with them.
Do you really think that?
Yes.
Yes, and I have firsthand experience. Like
I mean, and I do too, because it's under these rule sets.
Yeah, but you're.
No, but
I
it
think
doesn't matter.
you're both in a control.
Because they're not eye gouging me.
Dude.
They're not groin kicking me.
dude,
Get in over here. I got a 9% for you, bud.
no, but they're grind. No, but you. I mean, I've gone with spazzy white belts on their first day that are doing everything but fucking punch me. You know what I mean? They slam me and stuff. And what happens? I triangle them right away, or I'm on their back and stuff. Like their instincts are not.
You guys want a special guest?
Like, I don't know.
Rodriguez?
Oh, this early on in the podcast.
Whatever. At this point, I'm like, I don't know, man. I just drink and just let the conversation go.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know because we.
All right, so we're gonna like.
Yeah, I'm imposing.
We're gonna pay like a vagrant to come. Like,
we
we're gonna pay a crackhead to be like, "Hey, man, go pick a fight."
No,
with
we
this
need
guy.
to go find. So we need to set up
Fight
like
club
we need to do like a
Yeah.
controlled experiment, right? Like, how do we do a controlled experiment here? Did we do? We have to have. You want a 9%er? Yeah, bud. That's black belt level right here.
I don't think it's doing anything.
Okay, so just full disclosure, and I know you're gonna like eviscerate the fuck out of us because that's the kind of guy you are. Chris and I have started a podcast, and this is the inaugural episode.
I need to do a light beer. I'm 2 in.
And he's already shit faced on 2 beers.
I'm not shit. First of all, my wife and child are listening, so I'm.
Okay,
I've had a beer.
So this is what we've been doing the last 5 minutes. Chris is convinced is not convinced. Chris is not confident that in the street he could defend himself.
I'm not.
And I'm like, against most people. Now look, if you come across a guy that wrestled in high school, that's a different story. But I think against most people, you would completely destroy them.
I don't think so, and I think that's a false confidence that people give.
I think you give people credit for too much credit how good they are, right? You don't realize how bad people are.
Okay, so but the one thing I will give myself credit for is probably better conditioning. Like we kind of talked about that yesterday, right? Like there was that lady that came in off the street, and she couldn't run up a flight of stairs if she wanted to, right? So I could probably out-condition somebody and keep myself safe. Which is, I will say that.
Oh, I think most people I probably deal with 30 brand new people a month who actually have no interest in jiu-jitsu, and they're still very, very, very bad in their first hour of jiu-jitsu. So,
is it that, like, so...
I'm thinking it's really, really, really bad.
There you go.
I don't know. I mean, like, because, like...
You doubt Professor?
I'm not doubting Professor. I'm just saying, like, if I'm at Ember, right, and some fucking bro...
Do you like Ember, man? Or like, you keep mentioning
No,
you keep mentioning Ember, man.
First off, I didn't club a lot. It's like... But it's where we had our 10-year high school reunion. So, like, it's the last, like, club I went to in my mind.
Okay.
So, like, I'm just thinking, like, I'm there. Somebody bumps into me. I chill out. I'm like, bro, fucking chill out. And he's, like, bowing up. I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't know. I know to keep my hands up, but I don't know if somebody who's
training...
training...
You've trained Muay Thai. Like, I haven't even trained Muay Thai, and
I think that's more of a... This is going to sound... I'm going to try to say this without sounding bad. But I think that's more of your personal insecurities versus what the facts...
Boom! Roasted.
I don't know because I still get tagged a ton when I spar.
Yeah, I think we do too. But I mean, I you know, sometimes I'll go against somebody and I think I'll do well, and I go against somebody else and I get my...
Well, I mean, if you're going to get in a street fight and just throw punches, the odds of you getting beat are significantly higher.
Right. Anybody can just land and fucking bare knuckle you.
Yeah. In fact,
something comes
usually
through.
When I spar with people who don't know how to spar or fight, I might get hit a little more. I'm not going to finish me, but they're just so awkward that... And because they're new, I'm not hitting back.
Okay.
Like,
that's sort of the thing.
You go through the firefight, and then you take it to the ground, and then what?
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is, though, that only happens in here because they're so bad that I'm not hitting them. And because I'm not hitting them and they're so goofy, they are hitting me sometimes. That's just because I'm not hitting them.
But if you fucking crack somebody in the head, are we allowed to...
But no.
Yeah, we're allowed to go. We got the E-tag already, man. We're good.
They're going to...
But Muay Thai definitely, I mean, if you're going to fist fight it, it's just anyone can land a punch.
Right.
You can lower your head and punch, and it can hit.
It can hit.
Yeah.
That's exactly
that doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You can't
It
close
doesn't.
your eyes and get guillotine. You can't, like, and that's even one that's even like the most compatible one I can think of to a Hail Mary punch. Is just grabbing the head and getting a choke.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know anything and you just grab the head and get it, you might be able to do that.
Right.
But I think,
Like, there's no way a brand new person who's never trained jiu-jitsu can grab you and guillotine. There's just no way.
You don't think so?
I think that's the closest thing to a bet because they definitely can't armbar you or anything else.
Right. Yeah. Like that takes
They
proper.
can't even rear naked choke you.
No.
They can literally just grab your head and go like because they maybe seen it in a playground or on TV.
How many times have you been there?
What's that?
In the guillotine?
Someone just grabbed my head?
Yeah. No, how many
Like-
times have you been guillotined by a person who actually knows how to finish you and you've gone out?
And I've gone out?
There's just no
That's
way.
even
That's true. I guess it is. It's somebody who knows what they're doing, and I still can't finish me, right? And this is somebody
But
who,
that is somebody who doesn't know what
and
they're
that's
doing.
fair.
And I always think about that. Like, yeah, we have friends that are always, they talk crap, and they're like, "I think I can do well," and I'm like, "You might do well because you're probably a lot more athletic than me, and I haven't been training that long, but you're not gonna submit me." There's nothing that you can do without previous training that I haven't been in here in the mats with somebody who knows what they're doing. I might not beat you. I might not be able to submit you just because you're just like an athletic freak. At least
Sure,
in
yeah,
my time in jiu-jitsu, I haven't been training that long. But you're not going to submit
Don't
me.
shortchange yourself, but
Right,
yeah, go
no,
on.
but you're just not going to... I'd like to think, and not just not me being overconfident, I'd like to think that you're not going to put me in a situation where I'm like, I've never been here before, and I can just tap.
Okay, so let's step it back a little bit more. Is learning martial arts ultimately about self-defense, or is it about fighting?
I think
Because there's a difference, right? Like there's a huge difference between the two.
When I started jiu-jitsu, I started martial arts in general because my friend Zach, we we were hitting pads, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then when I came in here and I started to train, I thought to myself, I want to train because I want to make sure that at least I'd like to give myself a fighting chance if I ever get in a situation. I'd like to at least know that I'll be maybe okay in a really bad situation. And that was just the ultimate goal. And then as it came, obviously it became more fun, and you start to learn and you start to get better. But my main goal was always I want to be okay. I'm not a confrontational dude. I don't like confrontation at all. But I always wanted to make sure that if my back's against the wall, that I'd like to think I'll be okay with training here with people who are a lot better than me and this and that. That was just the ultimate goal. I never really thought about fighting. I don't fucking like fighting.
I've never been in a street fight in my life either, right? Like, it's always just been like an avenue
I was
for
talking
fitness.
about that one time I fought. I don't think I've ever been in a scary situation. It was the worst situation. I'll never do it again, probably.
Really?
Yeah, it was so scary. It was so scary, dude. I was shitting my pants.
Noah, why do you train?
So hang on, I just want to.
Yeah.
I'll answer that question. In your situation, was that a street fight or was that like you
No,
actually?
Was it self-defense or was it a fight?
No, when we fought here. My amateur
What's that?
Muay Thai.
Amateur Muay Thai.
Remember?
Oh, amateur Muay Thai fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So anything that and that
It was
like
so scary.
and I always say that like getting in a street fight's a lot easier than getting.
There's no way, dude.
It's a lot easier because a street fight just happens. A professional fight, you have to go in the back. You have to stand back there for 3 hours. You have to warm up. You have to walk down this thing. You have to get introduced.
Like
It's like it'd be like if you're gonna get in a street fight and the bully was like, all right, 3 o'clock. like at school, you like someone tells you, I'm gonna meet you after school on the playground. You're like, now you're nervous. Off like a street fight, just kind of like you're going about your life and it just happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, maybe you have 10 seconds to decide whether you want to just haul ass or disengage, but no.
This I
Competition
couldn't
fight
get
is
away from
way
it. Like
harder.
it was.
Oh, you can't get away from that. That's actually
No,
a really good
I
point, right?
couldn't
Like
get away
you're in.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's way harder on the psyche.
I woke up that
Way
day
harder,
and
yeah.
this is going to
Street
happen.
fights
No
just
matter what.
happen, you know. Like
You're just reacting.
when you gotta sit
Exactly.
back there and like, and you have to go out there and walk in front of everybody, and you have to. Yeah, it's way harder.
Really?
Somebody comes up and
That's-
pushes you.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Maybe your adrenaline goes up and that stops. Right when I got in the
And then
cage,
you have like 15 seconds of
yeah.
fight or flight. And then
Yep.
you-
Right.
like,
So when I
this,
got
you're
in the
already
cage
like you
and I
already
got
know
hit.
you're in the fight. You're just waiting for it to happen. You know?
exactly.
And it's not even the fight; it's the anticipation of the fight.
That's the worst.
That's
what I
why
don't-
when you're a
that's
street
the
fight,
worst
you're not going out anticipating a street fight. You
Mhm.
know, you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you can see something developing. You're like, fuck, is this
Adrenaline
me?
pumps
You know,
everything.
like
When you get in the cage and you get hit, that's it. Nothing else matters. It's just like I'm gonna survive this. I'm gonna try to win this. But the anticipation, I couldn't build up any adrenaline to help my nerves, and it was just killing me. I was just back there, and it was awful. I couldn't calm myself.
So you had one.
Just one.
I've also had one.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think I ever. It was so bad, man. My nerves were killing me, and I was trying so hard to not like portray it out, but on the inside, I was cooking.
Okay, so I gotta ask, how did the fight go?
It was I knocked him. It was a knockout.
You won?
Yeah.
Hey! Get yourself another beer. Hey! All right. This one's fine, but
But it was. But that's the thing. Like the fight wasn't bad. I remember.
whose
being in
fucking
there,
dog
it
is
was not-
this?
It was
That's
not
Alexi's
bad.
dog.
It was the.
Is she still here, or she just abandoned her dog?
she's actually redoing our curriculum board right now.
Oh, okay.
No, that's
Sweet.
nice.
It looks so much more legible.
Yeah, someone with good writing.
Okay, so we all train for different reasons.
I would-
Noah, you strike me as the least
Oh,
confrontational, least I'm training this for pure self-preservation type of guy. And mind you, I've only known you for like a year and a half guy, right? Like,
Oh, why do you train? Why do you train?
I don't train for like. I mean, I think it's cool to be a badass and be able to defend yourself, but it was just one of those things where I always had kind of a notion that I think jiu-jitsu would be something that I would like.
jiu-jitsu or martial arts?
Jiu-jitsu, because I'm not like the idea of
He
getting
was
in
the
the.
capoeira guy.
Yeah.
Oh, were you really?
No, so I
Just
actually,
the door's right there.
yeah. So it's one of those things where I was kind of like, I never felt like I had enough time to dedicate to, like the excuse I make, for lack of a better term, is, oh, if I want to do this, I want to make sure I have enough time to do it. So I never.
That's a great excuse, by the way. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I never-
That's why I'm 37 and had a
Yeah,
kid.
so I never,
right?
like did it. Like I actually, what's funny is I actually went to a jiu-jitsu school, and dude, I was working in Maitland. So we're all in Orlando, just for people, if you have, for the two people listening that are not in Orlando. I was living in north of Orlando, and I was working as a software engineer. And I was like, oh, let me check out Jiu-Jitsu school. And there was this small little dojo. I don't even know the name. I don't, knowing what I know now, I don't even know the guy. It was no, affiliated kind of group. And I went in there, and I didn't get any sort of good vibe. I was just like, whatever. There was a guy, I think there was a cop. And
Wait, where was this? I'm sorry. I was checking my Facebook
No,
notifications.
it was just some, small school in Maitland. And I just...
Was it a jiu-jitsu school?
It was a jiu-jitsu class. I don't even know if the guy was... I think the guy was a black belt, but I don't know. I think he was Brazilian or something.
But was he a real black belt?
Well, I don't know.
Full circle!
And point being, it's that didn't take off. So then I went off to Colorado. I did grad school. I came back, and I was like, I had this moment. I had this epiphany. I was on my bed playing Madden Mobile. And I was like, I'm wasting hours of my day, and I could be developing a skill. Now I have enough time to try this. So I came into this gym. Actually, I talked to a friend that I knew, and he recommended an American top team gym. He recommended Black Box in Kissimmee. Kissimmee's too far away from me.
Yeah, it's way too far.
So
Glenn and Sam are awesome, by the way.
Okay.
They're also personal friends of mine.
Yeah. And then I came in here, and I fell in love with the place, and I got addicted right away. So the impetus was more I kind of knew I'd like it, but what it kept keeping me out of it was just the fact that I felt like I couldn't dedicate the time, and then I got into a place with
So you're an all or none type of guy.
I think for something like this, if you want to get good, at least for me personally, I want to be able to dedicate as much time as I need to, and not be limited to, I'm going to be doing this twice a week.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts so much.
I know, but you're twice a week. But here's the thing.
That hurts so much.
And I don't want to go back to this too much, but it's so I played tennis my whole life. So this is my second sport. I feel like I have a tremendous advantage.
What are you in tennis? Like a black belt?
Yeah, I would consider myself a black belt in tennis.
Really? In performance or teaching? Ooh, full circle.
Definitely teaching.
Really? Definitely? Okay,
Definitely.
fair enough.
No, I've gotten way farther in teaching. I've taught at very good academies and stuff.
Okay,
I've taught at
go.
IMG academies. If anyone knows tennis, IMG academies in Bradenton is Sampras Agassi trained back there back in the day. And
Name
Sheriff
dropping.
Ovens,
He knows them. He just
Yeah.
said he knows them.
But as a second sport, it's interesting to do something as oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to drink.
Just drink it. Just don't swallow the actual. Don't swallow the tab.
I broke
You're
the
fine.
tab.
You're an
off
adult.
beer can. So
You're not a toddler that's just
the
going
cool
to
thing
swallow
about-
whatever's in their mouth.
about doing jiu-jitsu after you've done something else, whether basketball, swimming, or in my case tennis, is that one, you know your body. So I think I'm in a better situation than someone when it comes to being able to control my body, because I'm familiar with it, because I've been doing an athletic endeavor since I was 6, right? And then the other thing is I trust the process.
Which process? The tennis process or the jiu-jitsu process? Because there are two different.
No,
They're two very different processes.
No, you trust the process of showing up and training. When I was
own process.
Well, it's just the practicing. When I was young and I wanted to be the best player in the world, and I ended up playing in college and stuff. It was if I had a bad day, I'd be pissed. When I'm here, if I have a bad day, number one, I know it's hey man, you're gonna have bad days, but you're getting better because you're on the mat putting in the time.
Is it because you are more mature now and appreciate the process and the journey more than the goal?
I think I'm focused more on the journey than I am the goal, because there's no goal. I mean, the goal is to.
What is the goal, right? Is the goal to defend yourself, Noah?
No, I mean, no. Well, that's a added side. That's a bonus. That's a bonus of
What are you trying to achieve, Noah?
I just want to keep getting better, and
Are you trying to self-actualize?
I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better as quickly as I can, but enjoy the process. Because there's the belts are one thing, but it's it doesn't matter whatever belt level you're at, you can always get better.
Agreed. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's why there are degrees on black belts and whatnot.
Well, well, I mean, I think that's like a time thing, in my opinion. It's more just like there's always more techniques to learn, you know?
Okay, there are always more techniques to learn. Are those techniques necessary? Because, like, we go into this bullshit of, like, fundamentals versus, like, sport versus street and blah, blah, blah. At what point does it become extraneous?
What becomes extreme? Like learning a new technique?
Learning more techniques, is it necessary?
I think anyone. I mean, I'm gonna speak for Paul, and he can correct me right away. It's like, I think it behooves him to be aware of the developments in the jiu-jitsu community, because some of the people he's training are probably interested in sport jiu-jitsu, and he needs to be at least somewhat aware of like what the new developments are. Do those
like,
if he doesn't know leg locks, like what
or lapel guard, right? Like, because that's sort of like I think lapel guard tends to be the extreme of like sport jiu-jitsu versus like the quote original intention of jiu-jitsu, right? Is it necessary for anybody coming in off the street to any jiu-jitsu academy to at some point for lapel guard to become a part of their curriculum? And does it make them better martial artists? Does it make
I'm not
them
qualified to. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that.
It's just opinion, man. I mean, it's all an opinion, right?
I mean, I think from a sports side, you need to at least be aware of it, because your opponent could be.
Do we need to separate sport from street? Because we aren't walking around.
When you say separate sports from street,
because we're not walking around.
When you say sport jiu-jitsu versus street, what is street jiu-jitsu?
Street jiu-jitsu
is that like, come at me, bro? Like,
like pure self-defense, only fighting, and mind you, I'm only playing devil advocate, right? Like, especially like you see these sort of like hicks and nut huggers who are like, you know, like my family's original intention and blah blah blah. There's evolution, there's development of techniques. There's all these things of people gaming the system, especially like with rule sets like IBJJF. And mind you, IBJJF are set for a reason, right? Like the idea of the point system is to put you in a better position to be able to strike and to defend yourself, and people just learn to game the system. And because of the rule sets of the gi, they've been able to develop this other in my opinion, extraneous stuff to at the same time evolve jiu-jitsu, but also maybe take away from jiu-jitsu because it's not fighting and self-defense, like lapel guard, like worm guard, and this, you know, mantis guard not so much. But like, I'm not digging into you, Keenan. I'm just throwing it out there.
Did you start jiu-jitsu before you started fighting, or you fought and then?
I mean, I didn't start gi jiu-jitsu, but I started training jiu-jitsu. You know, like, there wasn't any jiu-jitsu schools where I was at.
Back in the day, it was for self-defense more or sport?
Oh, it was definitely for self-defense. Definitely
For fighting, right?
For fighting. I wouldn't say self-defense.
Fighting.
For fighting, yeah. It was definitely for fighting. Everybody I trained with was for fighting.
And so, Paul, like, I think you're unique because, like, a lot of people who get into jiu-jitsu who are around our age, right? Like, we're middle-aged at this point.
Oh, come on, dude. Come on. Life expectancy is getting longer, not shorter. Jesus Christ.
Calm down, Captain Paleontologist or Anthropologist here. Like, you and I got into it. We're early adopters, right? I mean, you're way early adopter than I will ever be because I remember you as a purple belt. Like,
you remember Paul as a purple belt?
Yeah, bro. I'm probably the person. Just not toot my own horn. I probably have known Paul longer in this academy than anybody. He remembers me as a off the street white belt.
Like Gracie Bar, Marcio's. They weren't even Gracie Bar.
Yeah, they were. It was Marcio Simas Jiu-Jitsu.
That's crazy.
Like the little.
Yeah, we gotta do a history of Orlando Central Florida Jiu-Jitsu.
I've got that. I've got Christopher Rubu's interpretation of that too.
Yeah, you probably are. Everyone else started.
Like literally, I've known him since 0506. I remember the first time.
Around him was Ben,
Luigi.
Holy shit.
Luigi's not around anymore.
Oh yeah.
Seth.
Yeah, Seth's. You know, he's a competitor.
Yeah, he's here. Who else is Mike Lee?
Yeah, Mike Lee wasn't even around then, right? Like But so like I've known Paul literally since he was a purple belt. first time I actually met Paul outside of the gym, I was walking into, it's a Dick's Sporting Goods now. I think it was Sports Authority then. And I was like, hey, man, is this mouthpiece good for jiu-jitsu? He looked at me like I was an idiot. And he said, yeah, man, that's good. I remember this. It was the Sports Authority on 50. And
Did you know each other at that point?
yeah, I mean, he probably knew me as some goofy new white belt who was probably going to quit in like 3 months.
Like, how random is it that
No.
that
Like,
year
it was
that
like-
you're asking, is this good for
It was like the bro.
No one knew what jiu-jitsu was.
So like this is like a prime example of like how things are important to you but are not necessarily important to other people. Like Paul to me was like a god, right? Like he's this dude. He teaches like this secretive like MMA class like off in the corner.
Back then, a purple belt is like Jesus. It's like
Oh yeah. I mean like purple
Oh
belt's
my
like
God.
Mark Peace in like Albany, New York, or whatever the hell it is, right?
It wasn't that bad.
No, but like he was this awesome dude who was like he's like this mythical creature who he and his like MMA boys trained off in the corner in like the back judo room in the academy on 50, right? And so like
I'm still thinking about the mouthpiece.
and I was like, oh my god, like
I remember
this
story.
guy might know me. And
I'm
I was
sorry.
like, is this mouthpiece good? Is this knee
I'm
brace
sorry to cut
good?
you off, Chris, but there was this funny ass story. And I remember when I first started, I was always like, dude, cauliflower ears, I kind of don't want those. So I went online and I bought these stupid ass headgear, and I wore it maybe twice. And the second time, Paul looked at me and goes, "You wearing those headphones again?" From that day on, I was just like, "Fuck." Oh, that's so funny.
And you know what? He probably doesn't even remember that, but you do, right?
Oh, it's so
And he
funny.
probably doesn't remember the mouthpiece thing, but he does with me. So like it's funny how like things like that are very significant to you are completely
I wore it
insignificant
twice.
to other people.
I was like, "Fuck that!" I'm not.
But so either way, like
wearing
where was this going?
I don't know, man. I think we've been talking for like what, an hour and a half at this point.
This is
Has it been?
it's well, I mean, well, Noah and I have been talking. We've had multiple guest
We've
stars
had multiple
today.
guests. I think it's a good time to shut this off. The inaugural.
The inaugural BJJ and Brews
Yeah,
podcast.
we'll see how the audio is, and then I'll post this thing online, and we'll go from there.
That's awesome, dude. Glad to be on it.
There we go. Oh.
Oh God, don't ever do that again. Like.